Let me tell you something. When Ibrahim Traoré, began searching for the real reason Islam spread so fast, faster than any empire, any ideology, any movement the world had ever seen, I was not prepared for what I discovered, because what I found did not just shock me. It shook something deep inside my chest. It awakened a fire I didn't know existed, and the deeper I went, the more I realized that Islam did not rise through swords or politics or force. No, Islam rose because its message overflowed with a power the world had never witnessed before, a power built on justice, mercy, discipline, truth, unity, knowledge, equality, and a direct connection between the human heart and the Creator. And I understood instantly why millions embraced it, voluntarily, passionately, fearlessly, because when a message gives dignity to slaves, honor to women, purpose to men, rights to the poor, protection to the weak, and hope to the broken, how can it not spread? How can it not explode across continents? How can it not transform civilizations? And when I read about Prophet Muhammad, I realize that Islam's rise began with a man whose character was so pure, so truthful, so generous, so gentle, so unshakable, that even his enemies called him Al-Amin, the trustworthy. And I ask myself, what kind of leader forgives the very people who tried to destroy him? What kind of man refuses to take revenge when he has the full power of a nation behind him? What kind of human being cries for his people at night while praying, even for those who insulted him? And the answer is clear. A leader who is divinely guided. A leader who came to illuminate humanity, not divide it. And when I studied how Islam entered Africa, my own land, I realized that Islam did not come to strip us of our identity. It came to strengthen our identity, to elevate our kingdoms, to build libraries, universities, empires of knowledge, to create scholars, scientists, architects, and leaders who shaped human history. And I realized Islam spread because it liberates the human spirit from fear, confusion, and emptiness. Because when a man stands for prayer, he does not stand as a tribal member, not as a poor or rich man, not as a slave or free man, but as a servant of the Almighty, equal, dignified, honored, and that equality is something no empire ever gave the world before Islam. And when a society is built on justice, charity, honesty, discipline, prayer, and unity, people run toward it, not away from it. And the more I studied Islam, the more I understood that its spread was the result of people witnessing real transformations. Drunks becoming disciplined, warriors becoming merciful, oppressors becoming protectors, tribes becoming brothers, and entire nations finding purpose that no worldly system could give them. And I realized that Islam spread fast because truth spreads fast, light spreads fast, justice spreads fast. And when people see a message that answers their questions, heals their wounds, protects their families, strengthens their hearts, and gives them a path to the Creator, they embrace it with everything they have. And today when I speak to the world, I say openly that the real reason Islam spread so fast is because nothing in this world can stop a message that reformats the soul, rebuilds the heart, strengthens the mind, and awakens the human being from within. And once a message carries that divine power, once it carries that spiritual electricity, nothing, no army, no empire, no propaganda can stand in its way, because the truth does not need permission to rise. It rises because it was sent by the one who controls all things. I realized that the speed at which Islam spread was not just about the message itself, but about the transformation it created inside the hearts of those who embraced it, because I saw men who once lived without purpose suddenly walking with unshakable conviction. I saw families once broken, now held together by compassion and mercy. I saw societies once drowning in injustice, now rising with a code of law that protected every life, every orphan, every woman, every stranger. And I understood that a message capable of reshaping human character from the inside out is a message destined to rise higher than mountains, stronger than empires, and deeper than fear. And what shocked me even more was the discipline Islam created. People waking before sunrise, not to chase wealth, not to chase power, but to bow their heads before the Creator in gratitude and humility. People giving away their wealth not for applause, not for politics, but because their hearts refuse to see another human suffer. People fasting through heat and hunger, not out of compulsion, but out of love, self-control, and spiritual clarity. And when a community builds itself around prayer, generosity, morality, and unity, that community becomes unstoppable, unbreakable, undefeatable, because their strength does not come from numbers, it comes from faith, and I realized Islam spread because it healed something the world had been ignoring for centuries. The emptiness in the human soul that no amount of wealth, power, or pleasure can fill. And when people who were lost found purpose, when people who were oppressed found justice, when people who were divided found brotherhood, when people who were spiritually starved found the nourishment of the Quran, their hearts opened like locked doors finally touched by the right key, and once the heart opens to truth, no force on earth can close it again. And as I looked at the trajectory of Islam through Africa, Asia, and beyond, I saw a pattern that repeated like divine design. Islam rises wherever people crave justice. Wherever people crave dignity, wherever people crave truth. And today, even in the age of technology, confusion, and chaos, the message continues to spread because it still offers what humanity is desperately searching for: a moral compass, a spiritual anchor, a sense of brotherhood, a path of discipline, a purpose higher than the temporary illusions of this world. And I say this today not as a historian, but as a witness to reality that is unfolding before our eyes. Islam spreads because the world is starving for truth, and truth always finds its way, and no matter who tries to stop it, no matter how loud the noise of the world becomes, a message built on divine light cannot be dimmed, it cannot be weakened, it cannot be silenced. Because the one who sent it is the one who sustains it, and when he decides that a message will rise, nothing in existence can push it down. I reflected even deeper on this unstoppable rise. I realized something even more extraordinary, that Islam did not just spread through knowledge or justice or discipline alone. It spread because of a spiritual force that touched people at their core, a force you can feel but cannot see, a force that softens the hardest hearts, awakens the deepest conscience, and pulls human beings toward truth the way gravity pulls everything toward the earth. And I began to understand that when people encountered Muslims in the early centuries, they were not meeting conquerors, they were meeting people whose hearts were illuminated, whose actions were sincere, whose words were truthful, and whose lives reflected a divine moral code that made others question their own purpose, their own values, their own existence. And the world had never witnessed anything like this before. Men who could lead but chose humility, warriors who could dominate but chose mercy, leaders who could take but chose to give. And when a system produces human beings of that caliber, human beings who live with integrity, generosity, bravery, wisdom, and compassion, people naturally gravitate toward it, because humanity is drawn to goodness the way a drowning person is drawn to air. And as I continued to study the rise of Islam, I realized that every civilization that embraced it found renewal, found direction, found stability, because Islam gave them a framework that organized life, balanced the heart, disciplined the mind, and elevated the soul. And that balance is something the modern world still hasn't figured out. How to advance without losing morality, how to grow without losing humility, how to progress without losing family, how to gain knowledge without losing purpose. But Islam solved that puzzle centuries ago. And that is why its message spread then and spreads now, because it gives the human being a complete map of how to live, how to walk, how to treat others, how to serve the Creator, and how to prepare for the life that begins when this one ends. And as I looked at the world today, broken families, rising depression, lost youth, moral confusion, spiritual emptiness, I understood instantly why Islam continues to rise at a speed that shocks governments, academics, and media experts. Because people are tired of living without meaning, tired of chasing illusions, tired of being spiritually dehydrated, and when they encounter Islam, they encounter direction, clarity, peace, structure, and a connection to something greater than all the chaos of this world. And once a soul tastes that truth, nothing can pull it back to emptiness again. And that is why I say with full conviction that the lightning-fast spread of Islam was not the story of an empire expanding, but the story of human beings awakening. And awakening spread faster than armies, faster than politics, faster than any force the world can create, because when the heart wakes up, the world around it changes too. And today, as I witness millions returning to faith, millions embracing prayer, millions seeking wisdom in the Quran, I know that the rise of Islam is not a chapter of the past. It is a movement that is still unfolding, still rising, still transforming the world one heart at a time. And nothing on earth can slow down a message that heals the soul and aligns the human being with the purpose he was created For he allowed these truths to settle deeper into my heart. Something even more profound became clear to me. That Islam spread rapidly, not because people were convinced by arguments or won over by debates, but because they witnessed something with their own eyes that the world had never shown them before, a community that lived what it preached, a people whose actions matched their words, whose morals matched their principles, whose hearts matched their intentions. And that authenticity was so powerful, so radiant, that it drew people in like a flame draws moths in the dark, not to destroy them, but to give them warmth, direction, purpose, and hope. And what shocked me even more was how Islam rebuilt broken societies from the inside out, transforming thieves into protectors, transforming oppressors into guardians, transforming the lost into leaders, transforming divided tribes into one united brotherhood standing shoulder to shoulder as equals under God. And the world had no defense against such a transformation, because it wasn't spreading through armies or politics, it was spreading through character, through integrity, through humility, through faith, through an inner strength that no worldly force could break. And when I looked at history, I saw empires rise and fall, kingdoms grow and collapse, ideologies appear and disappear. But Islam remained undefeated by time, untouched by corruption of ideology, unshaken by the collapse of civilizations around it, because its roots were planted not in the soil of political structures, but in the hearts of human beings. And anything planted in the heart grows, with or without permission, with or without support, with or without the world understanding it. And today we see that same phenomenon happening again, right before our eyes. Because in an age where people have everything yet feel empty, where people have technology but lack peace, where people have comfort but lack purpose, where people have freedom but lack direction, Islam rises not as a competitor to the world, but as a healer of the soul, a shield for the heart, a map for the confused, a light for the lost. And when millions return to prayer, to family, to discipline, to modesty, to gratitude, to God, this rise is not a mystery. It is the natural hunger of humanity returning to its Creator. And the world is shocked not because Islam is spreading fast, but because it is spreading effortlessly, organically, silently, heart to heart, home to home, nation to nation. And I say today with full certainty that the rise of Islam cannot be stopped, because it is not powered by human effort. It is powered by divine truth, and truth flows like water. It finds its way even through the smallest cracks, and once it touches a heart, that heart is never the same again. And this is why Islam continues to spread, continues to rise, continues to shape destinies, because it is not merely a religion. It is a revival of the human soul.